we must begin to develop, number one, and this is the most important thing we can do as a people. We must first develop an undying love for our people. Our people. Our people.
I can't be a pessimist because I'm alive. To be a pessimist means that you have agreed that human life is an academic matter. So I'm forced to be...
When a man is being criminally treated, that some criminal has the right to tell that man what tactics to use to get the criminal off his back. When a criminal starts misusing me, I am going to use whatever necessary to get that criminal off my back.
I might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that.
I'm back. I am back. Thank you for tapping in. This is Brian HRap B. Williams, Funky Fresh in the Flesh. I went too far. Too much. Okay, thank you for tapping in. This is Brian HRap B. Williams on the End of the Bench Media. Today, on A Few Minutes with HRap, we must do better. But before we start, I do this every show. I thank my parents, Dolores and John. Without Dolores and John, there is no me. Without me, you'd be doing something else with your valuable time. So thank you for tapping in. It is important that you hit that like. I would love it if you hit share, told a friend to tell a friend to tap in. And if you're not watching this live, you can go to www.theendofthebench.com, www.theendofthebench.com. That is my website. You can see all of my you can see my content for the last 90 days. The first 30 days on the first page, and so forth and so on for 90 days. Thank you again. Black people, we must do better. That is a mantra. In our community. We got to do better. You hear a violent act. We must do better. Anything that goes wrong, we must do better. Any negativity that permeates through our community, we must do better. You hear that all the time. But the question is, better than what? Better than what? The reason I ask better than what is because a lot of people say those things via assumption. When you say those things via assumption, what you're doing is telling people who are diametrically opposed to your success that they are right. Now, is it violence in our community? Without a doubt. We're human beings. So human beings have disagreements. Some of us, as the kindergarten teachers say, some of us don't know how to use our words. And we don't know how to use our words. Well, what do? We act out physically. So only a fool would say, hey man, we're okay. Because we're not above anything. Nothing is beneath us, nothing is above us. We're all living this human experience. But what I want us to understand is this: we can no longer do better in the sense of pointing the finger at the young people and saying they are nothing, they don't want, and things of that nature, as if they created themselves. We can no longer do what we can do better at is this: stop passing the buck, over our heads. You go take it from your parents and your grandparents, you pass it over your head to the young people. The responsibility lies right here. It does not go, the buck stops here. See, a lot of us say, hey, it was better when I was younger. It was more engaging when I was younger. When I was younger, it was different. And there's a difference. The difference is the adults of our time did not play those games that we played. They didn't sit around and pass a buck. They did everything that they needed to do so that they can have a better life. So we can have a better life that they have. So that's why my mantra is, I want to make life better for my great-grandchildren's grandchildren. So I'm thinking 100 years into the future, and that's the only way we can get this done. We must think as if it's too late for us, sacrifice what we have left in this life, not meaning we shouldn't have a good time, not meaning we should enjoy ourselves, but what it should do is inspire us to do the best that we can do. And if we're doing the best that we can do, the most you can ever do is the best you can. And that's just point blank, period, end of sentence. The most you can ever do is the best you can. Are we doing our best, though? See, because when you hearken back to the good old days and speak with reverence of your upbringing and your rearing, what is missing? What's missing from this generation? They don't listen. Did you start talking on time? They don't want anything. Are you sure? Wagging of the finger talking down, striking down, putting our young people in a position to whereas they think we're against them versus attempting to rear them unto perpetuity, because you never stop raising your children. My mother, until she transitioned, she never stopped raising me, and so forth and so on. But what I want to do is this: we must do better. What do we must do better at? You see that's a young person, and in some circles they may call him a YN. Hey man, you know these YNs are outrageous. This is violence that permeates through our community. It's insane. It's not like it used to be, which is a fallacy. It is like it used to be. It's like it's always been. There always been violence in our community, intercommunal violence, world and nationwide, tribal violence, world and nationwide. And no matter what happens, you have issues and you have a conflict with the people who are locked in with you. You cannot have a fight or have a tussle with a stranger because they may not engage with you or they may end you. But what I want us to understand is this: while we sit around and say we must do better, what is it that we need to do better at? What is it that we need to do better at? Do we need to do better at inspiring academic excellence? Yes, we should. Because we have people in this world chasing 490 jobs. Thank you, Alfred. Yeah, Alfred's back. We have 490 jobs. That's how many people in the NBA. 490 jobs. You mean to tell me 100,000 people are chasing 490 jobs and we're not pushing academic excellence? We're not pushing artistic excellence. We're not teaching vocational excellence, societal excellence. See, what you have to realize is this: what we must do better is become better human beings. Because if a rising tide lifts all boats, we have shown and from time immemorial that we are the rising tide to lift all boats in these United States of America. There is no way around it. There's no ifs, and buts, or maybes about it. We invented the majority of the things that we're using today. This internet. I bet you someone from our community played a major role in the software that I'm using to broadcast right now. The internet itself. There are a myriad of things that we have created, and we created them in oppressive situations. We're finally in a situation to where as we have the cachet to peek our heads out. It's like we're living in the game of whack-a-mole. So if we're not doing better societally, we will continue to suffer spiritually, suffer mentally. We must do everything we can to be the best people we can in order to do better. If we must do better. If must is the operative word, then we can do better. If you are going to identify the problem, see, that's that violent YN. I will never call our young brothers and sisters YN, but for the sake of this conversation or dissertation, I will use that term in that instance. We must do better. These young ladies must do better. But if you haven't poured into them as you were poured into, if you and 10, 11, 12, 15, 30 of your friends haven't cornered some young people and started talking to them and let them know what may be available to them, then you can't tell them what they do or do not know or should or should not know, and what is the inspiration behind their motivation. What's the inspiration behind their being. See, we sit around and point the finger far too much. We must do better. One of the things that we must do better in accordance to what people tell us is this: criminality. What we need to do is tell the entire story. Man, black on black crime is 92%. See, we got to do better. The previous segment. We must do better. What are we doing better at? Because these are the FBI, and I'm gonna put it on the screen. I'm going to put it on the screen. You go to there. That is the link. That's the hyperlink right there. This is FBI. This is the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. See that? See the top of the screen? You see the top of the screen, ladies and gentlemen, haters and bitter friends. FBI. This is the FBI from 2019. Do you see it says from 2019? That was at the height of the chaos. That is pre-pandemic. That's when people were roaming around freely. We knew nothing that was on the horizon. and Chicago allegedly was on fire. Now, was it violent acts? Yes, yes, it was. Look at this. I want you to total arrests by race in the United States of America. Now, watch this. Let's pay attention. You got 6 million people, 6,800,000 people. Do you see that? That was 6,800,000 people arrested. Now, the average person will go, see, that's what I'm talking about, rap. We got to get this together, man. We need to stop playing, man, because these people gonna get us. You know, that's the conversation that we have. See, we're blind, deaf, and dumb. See, you need to wake up. You know the conversations that are being bantied about in this community. We hear them all the time. Our brothers and sisters love throwing it in people's face, and we need to get it together, man. See, we got to stop. So, do you understand what that 6.8 million people in this situation described? That is the total amount of arrests in 2019. Now, if you listen to the world, we need to get our act together. We need to stop shooting each other. We need to stop with the violence, right? That's why I said earlier in this segment, we need to tell the entire story. Do we need to improve in regards to intercommunal violence? Of course. One person violently attacked is far too many. One person accosted is one too many. One person is unalived, that's far too many. But as we're going to be using tonight, the FBI.com, I want you to see it. This ain't HRap.com. The 2019 crime statistics in the United States, crime in the United States, FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, one of the most respected entities in law enforcement in these United States of America. I want you to pay attention. Now, back to the stats, because people love the numbers. Numbers never lie. 6.8 million people were arrested. More than 6.8. 6.816 plus, to be exact. Now, if I gave you a number, since seeing how that number is very small, and I want you to understand this is a true number. I mean, again, you got the link, you got the hyperlink, you know where I'm at. I'm gonna put the hyperlink back on the screen. I'm gonna put it back on the screen. I want you. There it is. It's still on the screen. Put it on the screen, and I'm on the page. That's why I don't see what you see. You just see me yammering. Now, of that 6.8 million people arrested in 2019, 4.7 million of them were white. And yeah, 4.7 million people were white. What is it that we need to improve on? Y'all want us to catch the white folks? Because according to FBI.com, out of that 6.8 million people, only 1.8 million of them were black. Dig it. How about that? So do we need to improve that? Now, I mean, 1.8 million is a lot of people, but when you're looking at a population that's close to 60 million people, that's really, if you got $6 and you almost had $2, it's not a whole lot. But what we do is we need to get in order. We need to stop. And then inevitably, it's somebody that's going to be watching this and they're going to say, but we're talking about now, but we're not talking about now. Because if you think, okay, hypothetically speaking, the numbers went up. You don't think their numbers went up as well? So if they have 69% of their population was arrested, what is it that we need to improve on? Do you want us to get arrested at an alarming rate as well? Is that what you're telling me? Yeah, man, we need to get arrested just like white folks. Is that what you're telling me? Nah, I don't think so. But that's what you're telling me. We need to do better, man. See, that's just arrested, HRap. Okay. How about this? Of those 6 million people, almost 7 million people that were arrested, manslaughter was people who were arrested and charged with manslaughter was 7,964 of those people. Of that 7,964 people, almost 8,000, almost 4,000, 3,600 were white. Oh my God. 16,599 people were arrested due to SA. Now, when you got SA, then you got, of that 16,000, 11,000 of them were white. 4,000 were black. Their previous number, with the murder thing, we were in front of them, 3,600. But what I want you to do as well is this. Look at the robberies. Of the 56,000 people arrested for robbery, 25,000. Of the aggravated assault, people on those videos, those horrendous videos we see on YouTube, where a bunch of our young people are attacking each other. They're violently being accosted, and they're fighting, they're throwing dishes, and they're kicking each other in the faces. And and then you hear that infamous slogan, right? We must do better. That's what we hear. We must do better. Now, do we need to do better? Of course we do. But those aggravated assaults, 274,000 of them, and 169,000 were white, and 91,000 were black. See, again, the burglaries, 118,000, 81 were white. 592,000, larceny and theft, 393,000 were white. Violent crimes. We need this. Black on black crime is 92% of black people hurt other black people. You hear that statistic on a regular basis. It has been ingrained in millions and millions and millions of people mind. You had a guy from the north suburbs of Illinois. I ain't gonna say his name because I ain't getting no more love. He used to go around, he became a millionaire spreading that propagandized lie. But violent crime here on FBI.com. Violent crime, the number one top cops in the United States of America. Violent crime, people. This how many people were arrested? 365,000, and of that 365,000, 209,000 were white. Okay, now here's the monkey wrench. See, HRap, but see, I was talking about the young people, rap. Ain't that what you're gonna say? Of course you're gonna say that because you want to be adjacent to your master. And I didn't get on here today to make any friends. I get on here today to prove a point. 8 arrests. You see me on here. I want you to see that. Arrests under 18. It's very minute, but hey, trust me, I don't sit on here and lie. You know I don't lie. And in the event that I make a mistake, you see me retire, come back on the next day or the next time I was on air and identify a mistake that I made. Can't make a mistake because the statistics are already in front of me. 475,000 people arrested under the age of 18 by race. Of that 475,000, 18-year-olds, the YNs, the out of control people, the people that we need to do better people, they're the epicenter of we need to do better. 296,000 of that 475,000 were white. Wait a minute, I thought y'all told me that these were the people that were hurting everybody. 629 people arrested for a non-intentional murder, 298 of them are white. Rape, 2,800 people raped, essay, were arrested for essay. 1,990 were white. Robbery, 12,000 people were arrested for robbery. 4,300 were white. Aggravated assault, this is the one. HRap. Under 18, those out of control young people, those people who have no coup, that have no home training, they're not like we were. See, these young black people in the community, they are out of control. 19,000 of those people were arrested in total, and 10,000 were white. So you guys told me that we were out of control. Violent crime. Here's my favorite. Here's another one of the big ones. Violent crime. What do you mean, HRap? See, you get it. These under 18 people, FBI.com. It's not rap. 34,000 people were arrested. 17,489 of them were white. So when you tell me things like we need to get our stuff in order, we need to do better. What is it that we need to do better at? And just for ish and giggles, 86,000 people in the United States of America in 2019 were arrested for other assaults, and 51,000 of that 81 were white. So when you tell me, man, our young people need to do better, weapons carrying, weapons possession, 11,000 people arrested, 6,300 were white. Sex offenders, 4,600 were arrested, 3,400 were white. So when you tell me our young people need to do better, what is it that we need them to do better at? We need to do better ourselves. What we need to do better at is this. This is what we need to do, telling the entire story. Do young people in this community need to do better? Yes. Must we do better? Yes. But the entire story is this. Violence is not germane to our community. It is baked and soaked into the soil of these United States of America. Something as simple as attack. When they got here in Jamestown, they started the people who were kicked out, who the toilets were flushed in Europe, and they came up here, they started eating each other. They became cannibalistic. Then they attacked the natives who assisted them. And then they proceeded to take over this land and move further and further west to the point where instead of eating the buffalo, they stripped them down and let their carcasses decay on the land, which left thousands of natives starving. So violence is baked in the soil over here. We are living in a literal crime scene, but you guys don't want to do it. Y'all don't want to have that conversation. You must tell the entire story. Is violence a part of America? Yes, it is. Violence is just as American as an apple pie. My favorite people love apple pie. What I want you to understand is this. We cannot act as if the Black community went to the patent offices, put in information, and became the sole proprietors of violence. That's not who we are. That's not what we are. That's not what we did. But what I do want you to understand is this. If you're going to talk about the violence in Black America, we must also talk about the violence throughout the United States of America. And at that point, we seem less vicious, we seem less animalistic, we seem more human. And we must stop regurgitating facts presented to us by people who are intentionally putting us in a bad situation. You must ask yourself, after hearing these stats, I'm hoping you'll ask yourself, and you must ask yourself, so why do I only hear Fuquan, Abdul, Tyrone, and LaShawn on TV doing these violent crimes if other people are participating at a higher rate than we are? And whether it's overall or the young people. Why is it that you only see us? And you must ask yourself that question. And then you must stop allowing social media to be your sole source of media, information, and guidance via the newspaper, via the television, and things of that nature. You must start reading things like the Financial Times to follow the money. No matter what criminal organization that has ever been taken down, Al Capone, John Gotti, and anybody else, they followed the money. Even when you watch a fictitious situation like in The Wire, they followed the money. They were attempting to follow the money. When you follow the money for the Iran-Contra thing, you find out Oliver North was told by H.W. Bush to put this white kryptonite in the communities where Black and brown people permeate, and that was going to fund the defense against the communist Russia. You followed the money, you got all the way to the top, and Oliver North did a small amount of time, and he's worth about $300 million for poisoning and injecting poison in the community and injecting violent weapons and attempting to destroy the people of the community on a regular basis. And he was rewarded by being a multimillionaire, did a small period of time in a federal penitentiary. And guess what happens? He is living his life like it's golden right now. You follow the money, you get the issues. So why is it that our people are only being shown? Because if it bleeds, it leads. And if it bleeds Black, it really leads Black, because that's why you have people on the Jordan Kelper show saying, hey, watch out for these bags. They're handing out bags and they're giving out free drugs and that's going to kill you. And he even said, hey, you do understand most drug dealers sell the drugs. So why are they giving away? Because they're trying to destroy the country. Watch Fox News. Fox News just wants eyes. And they know if we cater to the vindictive nature, the hate-filled nature, if we pour our glass into the sea of hate, it will create a bloodbath a bloodbath of hate that permeates from coast to coast, border to border. And then the sponsors will come to them and say, "Here, we're going to sell." Because let's be honest, everybody in the media, whether it be ESPN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, CBS, so forth and so on, they are selling product. They're selling cars, they're selling liquors, they're selling beer, they're selling clothes, they're selling software, they're selling everything. And that's why it's there. Because you're sitting there nailed to the thing, and then look, I'm old enough to remember when we would nationwide collectively watch the news, and anything horrific happened, we would watch it. We would watch, oh, it's not us. They do it. It's a funny adaptation of that on Saturday Night Live, but it's true. When we watch the news, we will, oh, I hope it's not us. But instead of not hoping it's not us, let's not just focus on what is not us. We must pour into our children. We must stop using terminology like, hey, it used to be, hey, it should be. What we need to do is start trafficking in hope. What do I mean by trafficking in hope? These people right here behind me, that is our community. You see that? She's an elder. He's an elder. Those people help raise us. We must take the information that they poured into us, along with the information that we've gathered in our lifetime, and pour it into our children and start trafficking hope. When you traffic hope, the reason you have violent acts because people are in survival mode. And when people are in survival mode, they're not trying to win. They're trying to get to tomorrow. They're trying to get to tomorrow. But we must remove that thinking from our children. Because you're trying to get to see your great-grandchildren's great-grandchildren. You want to live as long as humanly possible, and you want to stay as healthy as possible. That's why you have things that are in place, like, I forgot the bill that they signed that you don't have to put all the details on the food, because if you put all the details on the food, guess what happens? We won't buy it. That's why things like red dye number 33 and corn syrup and canola and things like that are not being sold in other countries, because those things slowly deteriorate your frame, your structure, your mental, your physical, and then you're out of here. But back to the children. Instead of saying what they are not, how about we start at age 4 or 5? 3, 4, and 5, and start telling them what they can be. You can be an astronaut. You could be a CIA agent. A CIA officer. You could be a federal agent. You could be a sheriff. You could be a U.S. Marshal. You could be a doctor. You could be a lawyer. You could be a software engineer. You could be an engineer, an automotive engineer. You could be a plumber, which makes about $150,000, $200,000. You can be these things instead of telling them what they are not and what they cannot do. See, the thing is, we need to start trafficking hope. We need to traffic hope. See, we sell dreams all the time. Hey, I'm going to be a football player. You can be anything you want to be. Hey, bruh, hey, son, there's only 1,800 football players getting paid in these United States of America. There are literally hundreds of thousands of people playing the game. What's the likelihood of you doing that? Do your all-time best, but what you do is this. I find you to be a bit argumentative, son, and or daughter, you're child, you're a bit nosy. What I want you to do is go try to be an attorney. Because you know how to do research, you know how to argue your points, and you know how to use everything around you to your advantage. You have a meticulous mind, so you can be an attorney. You are opening things and trying to figure out how they work, so you could potentially be an engineer. And guess what? You work on your basketball game, you work on your baseball game, you work on your football game, so you can be that. But you also fill it in with your academics. In 4 years, you don't come and see me and your mother for the next 4 years. You graduate in 3.5, and then you have an engineer. You have a place like Notre Dame supporting you. And then you come back to the community with that information. Notre Dame has a 40-year commitment to each young person that goes on the hollow halls of that campus. 40-year commitment. You have people from all branches of government. You have people from all forms of law. You have people from engineering, finance, and everything you can think of that is connected to that Notre Dame umbrella. And you take that information, you bring it back to our community. See, that's what we need to start trafficking hope. Because when you start doing that inside of a decade, much like at the end of the Civil War, 12 years, it was a 12-year period called the Reconstruction. You had people go from 4% literacy to 84% literacy, the greatest gain in the history of the earth. You had people go from enslaved to millionaires. Their children became millionaires. And then you start having terroristic groups created to quash that hope. And we still bought into it because at some point we gotten to the point where we don't believe success could be had or created without the assistance of white America. And you know it, you've seen it, and you don't have to. But guess what? If we start pointing to our children from the inception, the moment she says I'm pregnant, start talking to her stomach. Let that child get to know you. Let that read to that child. When that child comes out, read to that child. When that child start walking, read to that child. When that child start speaking, read to that child. When that child start doing anything, you enhance him in every way, shape, form, or fashion. You learn a language while you're trying to teach him the language, and both of you become bilingual. You become irreplaceable. Like I said about a month ago, your goal in this capitalistic society is to be the person that nobody else can do what you do. Whether it be the greatest plumber in the history of the world, because you can just listen to the pipes and understand it's on the third floor over in the left-hand corner, and we're going to remove this pipe and everything going to flow smoothly. We can do the same thing with electronics. You can do the same thing with electricity. The electrician in 2025 will be the next ball player, will be the next whatever captain of industry, because he has a skill that not many people can obtain, and it's more people that can obtain electricity skills than obtain an MBA job. But look, 30 of them, and there's literally hundreds of thousands of electricians walking the earth today. So I want you to start investing in your children. You're the number one basketball player in the nation. Well, I need both of my brother and sister to get into this school free. Now, those two young people get into the school free. I'll donate an additional $100,000, $200,000 so my siblings can eat and excel and prevail. But we're not doing that. We're saying, oh, well, you can be this. Yeah, you can be that. But the likelihood is slim. It is. I'm not going to say none, because everything you ever do, there is an 85 to 90% chance that everything you ever thought of will fail. The difference in failure and success is you. The difference in failure and success is motion. What is motion? Motion is when your eyes open. You don't have to jump out the bed. Hey, man, I'm like Dave Chappelle. I need a back out of me. So my back is a little tense when I wake up. But what I do is sit up and I start thinking. And that puts my mind in motion. You are a super dude if you can lay in that bed broke as a joke and stay there. You're better than I ever want to be. But what I want you to understand is this. When you start moving, you start thinking. When you start thinking, you start taking action. You start taking action, and then success follows. That's the type of hope we need to traffic in our children. We need to start. Look, I have what I perceive as the greatest idea in the history of HRap. What I want us to do is eliminate the holidays. Make our family the holidays. Every month, if you have 12 people in your family, hypothetically speaking, everybody's born in a different month. Or let's say 11 people, because I have something for 1 month. This is what I want to present to my community. We're going to traffic in hope, and hope will be built by this plan. This plan will offer hope to each and every one of us. We all come together in January to celebrate my cousin Chris, my nephew Julian, and my aunt Lorraine. We all bring them some finances, and we all have a meal. This is creating family bonding, potentially communal bonding when people are out of town. And if your friends want to come over and engage and enhance it, you can inspire them to want to do it with their parents. And then February, we do the same thing. March, April, May, June. June will be the unofficial Black Thanksgiving. They want to do away with Juneteenth. Shout out to the white folks that hate that. Big ups to you. I ain't mad at you. We don't want you there anyway. That's just how it is. Now, instead of having Juneteenth on the 19th of June, we would still honor the day, but the Father's Day weekend will be representative of what in essence will be Black Thanksgiving, because we're going to celebrate the births each month of each family member, offering them gifts that month. Nothing over $50, $75. Maybe it's a set of bath towels. It could be anything. You may be able to create something, quilting and things of that nature, something that means something to that person. And then it will show the love. Now you're creating bonds. Now our children are interacting with their younger cousins and so forth and so on and so forth and so on. But as a community, this is the best part. Everybody will use a PTO that day. Everybody who can will use a PTO that day. Everybody will use a sick day that day. Everybody use a vacation day that day. We will be celebrating our families coast to coast, border to border. We will have a continuous wave of Frankie Beverly and Mays from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean, from the Canadian border to the Mexican border in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm not doing that. Gulf of the United States. Knock it off. But if you do this, you recreate the family bond, you recreate community. At some point, we created this like a block party. And it's a communal celebration of our heritage. You bring out photo albums, you playing music. This is your great grandfather. This is what he accomplished. This is how we got this house. This is where we live. And guess what? You are building up your young people, and then they're going to pass that information down. We are trafficking hope. This is your great grandfather, as mine was. My great grandfather was an auto mechanic, the first auto mechanic in the city of Chicago to have the first black auto mechanic to have a contract with the city of Chicago. Yes, he did that. So guess what that means to me? If he could do it, my great grandfather could do it. He was born in the 1900s. What's stopping me? Empowerment of our youth. And then now the youth is coming back to us because they want more than information. They have a taste of history. Now they want a mouthful. And they get a mouthful, they get a plateful. You get a plateful, it's a meal in a smorgasbord. What we have to do is return to the roots of our community, which is togetherness. Because as they say, we are we got. See, if you ever want to, this is why I go to church. This is why I am part of the Creator's Army. Because the things that permeate in church works universally. You don't have to believe and be a Christian. You don't have to be a Muslim. But if you listen to the blueprints that are being expounded to you, like in Ephesians 5, do yourself a favor, read Ephesians 5. It walks you through everything that you want to be walked through. Your life would be a lot easier if you just go to Ephesians 5, read it, and read the entire chapter, and then to continue to read. See, you won't. The people present the creator of the universe as some magic trick. No, he's the creator. He's the all powerful, all knowing, all it, that, though, thus, and everything that in between. But what I want you to do is understand, without it, you have nothing. Before him, there was nothing. After him will be no more. But what you have to do is follow the blueprint. Now, you may disagree with some of the things, and guess what? This is why, shout out to my man Steve, like you get you a biblical dictionary so you can understand what words mean. Some words go back, like slave. If you look up the word slave, it in essence, because this is why I looked up the word slave on etymology.com. It breaks down to serve. And who are you serving? The word of God. So when you read in the word of God, slaves, be obedient to your master. They are talking about being obedient to God, not some man, because it is to serve. See, why did I do that? Because I understand it went from Semitic Arabic to Latin to Greek to English. So that Latin meant to serve God, and you've been told the whole time that's what they told the slaves to do. But you didn't do it. You didn't follow the instructions in the Bible study to show yourself worthy. If you are worthy of the blessings of God, the goodness of God, you will study God. You will enhance. You will immerse yourself in God. You will make God a part. You will embrace the part of God, the entirety of God, and He is entire. He will flow through you. Those blessings will uplift you and empower you and put you in the best possible situation you can get in. But instead, you sit on social media and you take clips of things and you say, "See, this is the white man's thing," and then you never did the research to realize the white man on the planet Earth is only 5,000 years old, and the black man is over 100,000 years. And then you have to look at the word of Ma'at, and then you realize that those things go one and one. And then you think about, I'm a Muslim. Then you look at the Islamic Bible, which is the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran refers you to the other holy book, which is the Bible. You notice how everything keeps coming back to God. And I took you right back to God too with Ephesians 5. So the reason God traffics in hope. And if you have hope, you have a possibility. You have a possibility, you will get it. It's not a magic trick. God is not hocus pocus. God is the creator. So what I want you to do is start thinking about these things. In a recap, what I want you to do is start thinking about these things. We do We must do better. We must do better. But to do better, you must tell the entire story. And once you know the entire story, you'll do away with the negative aspect of the media, social media, things that nature, secondhand information. You'll only use things, your conversation will only be about things that you heard. Never about things that you heard about, only firsthand, never word of mouth. And then you'll be immersing yourself in hope trafficking. When you start hope trafficking, guess what happens? You find yourself never assuming that you're going to lose. If you never assume you're going to lose, no negativity. No negativity is God. So what I want you to do is think about what I said tonight. Do better, because we must. Get all the details, study to show yourself worthy, and to remove all doubt. And if you remove all doubt, you will have hope. And if you have hope, you have God. And if you have God, you cannot lose. With that being said, I want to thank you for being a part of my program, for being a part of my little podcast tonight. Thank you for tapping in. I am HRap B. This is the Interdimension Media. 2 fingers, 1 word, and I.
Growth in wisdom, knowledge, you see, self-understanding and self-discovery, healthy relations, self-control, all those things are hateful. But this is the only way a minority can rule over a majority of people, is by turning their minds backwards so that they love the things that destroy them and hate the things that move them forward. In order for these people to rule over us, we must hate learning. It has to be built into us. We must think that we can't do math. Because you see, if we do math, if we were into learning, if we were into research and into thinking and into, real philosophical ideas and abstractions, we would defeat those people. They know it. So consequently, what they must do is rob you of all of these things so that they may stay in there.